The New York Racing Association welcomes you to Saratoga Racecourse. Your safety is our primary concern. If it becomes necessary to evacuate Saratoga Racecourse, please follow these guidelines to walk calmly out and away from the 1863 Club, the apron, the main building, and the backyard. Those in the 1863 Club basement area will go up the center staircase or the loading dock area staircase. Patrons and employees on the first floor use the loading dock stairs or exit out the main lobby exits or out the front doors. Turn right toward the loading dock area or turn left to the horse path and proceed out onto the track. Those on the second floor will walk down the main staircase and out of the building or use the pedestrian bridge over to the main building. Those on the third floor will go down the center staircase or the west end staircase down to the loading dock area and continue out and away from the building. If you're located trackside on the clubhouse apron, on the dining porch, or the grandstand apron, walk forward onto the track through the emergency exit trackside gates. Turn right or left and continue along the outside rail to the exits. As you're exiting, please be mindful of any horses that may be in the area. Those in the interior clubhouse and grandstand areas will exit out into the park areas in the rear of the building and continue out through gates A and B for the grandstand and gates C and D for the clubhouse area. Those located in the second floor clubhouse box seat areas, left or right of the winner's circle, will walk down the nearest unobstructed staircase to the apron area and proceed out the trackside gates onto the track. Turn right and continue along the outside rail to gate 10. Those in the club terrace dining and standing areas will utilize the metal staircases at the rear of the building down to the ground level and continue out gate C. Once in a stairwell, should you encounter smoke or other obstructions, leave the stairwell immediately and proceed to another stairwell. Those in the first and second level turf terrace dining areas west half will proceed down the west end fire escape to the ground level and continue out gate D. Those in first and second level turf terrace dining east half will take the east end staircase onto the clubhouse roof, then continue down to the ground level and out gate C. Third and fourth level turf terrace dining west half will utilize the rear or west staircase down to the ground level and proceed out gate D. Those in third and fourth level turf terrace dining east half will utilize the east end staircase or ramp down to the clubhouse roof, then continue down to the ground level and out gates C and D. If you are in the second floor club seating, sections D through L, or the grandstand seating, sections M through Y, including the stretch seating area, proceed down the staircases to the trackside apron and proceed out onto the track. Turn left or right and continue along the outside rail to exit. Those in the second floor easy-goer dining area will go down the staircases at the rear of the building to exit through the park and out gate B. Those in the paddock area and paddock tent will walk through the paddock and out the saddling area emergency gate. Please be mindful of any horses that may be in close proximity. Those in the other rear park areas will proceed out the nearest unobstructed gate. All egress aisleways and emergency exits must be kept clear of personal articles and items. Once outside, please continue away from the gates and await further instructions from public safety personnel. Elevators and escalators will not be in use during an emergency evacuation. Guest services and security personnel will be available to guide and assist ADA guests and anyone who may require additional assistance. This concludes our evacuation plan for Saratoga Racecourse. Thank you for being prepared in advance to respond calmly in an emergency. Enjoy today's events.
morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses, day 26 here at Saratoga. Acacia Clement, Andy Serling. Talking Horses brought to you by our friends at Saratoga Springwater. We got a little bit of a late start, so we're going to get rolling right along into all the slates and all that such. And Acacia and I can bring you these first 10. Naira Bets, if you're not a member of Naira Bets, head on over, use the promo code SPA200, and we'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have middle pick 4, races 2, 4, and 7 for the big 4s in today's 10-race card. We have a $7,500 hit and split last try here today, and the first try at Del Mar as well. Opt-in at Naira Bets. If you hit, you can be around to split. One of these days, we'll actually run a last race in the turf. Who knows? Acacia could possibly happen someday. Who knows? Maybe it'll. Next week right now looks good. So that's a big week for us, too.
Mother Nature has not been the most kind to us this summer.
No, but, you know. I've been around a long time. I've seen some bad summers here. It just has been so long, it's hard to reconcile yourself. It just means that next summer will be happier because it won't rain as much. $300 buy-in for the Saturday contest. You'll have till 5 o'clock tomorrow. Go over to naira.com/contest. It's a live money contest. You'll play it through Naira Bets, and also you can play in the feeder tomorrow. You have till 5 o'clock today to sign up for this one. $40 buy-in. If you qualify, you qualify for the contest. Speaking of contests, are we going into it? Oh, yeah, low rollers, $40 bankroll, 30 towards the bankroll, 10 towards the prize pool. Lots of fun. A lot of people playing, becoming more and more popular. Go see Ray and Jay outside the Miller Time 4-Star Dave's Sports Bar. You can play on track only, but really is a fun and becoming very, very popular thing, despite the fact that, frankly, Ray and Jay really aren't very nice guys. I actually spoke to Jay. It was the worst way to start any day for anyone. I don't recommend it. I don't know how the guy's wife does it, to be honest. No, he said to me, she likes everybody. Now I know why she likes me. Let's move on. Or maybe she doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on to the Taste New York Pavilion, Thursday through Sunday, located near Gate A by the Berkshire Bank Family Zone. And I'm guessing this is going to lead in the show graphic, right? 1 to 6:30 on FS2 would be my guess. There you go, 1 to 6:30, FS2, covering all the action. Acacia,
and today
yes.
is Aftercare Day.
It is Aftercare Day.
So I have my little, I love New York's retired racehorses buttons. Head over to the community booth. There's a demonstration going on. You can meet a lot of great aftercare organizations and celebrating all things aftercare today.
Excellent, which you are intimately
My mom will
involved
be over
in.
there.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Jerry Courtney sighting.
So if anybody wants to meet the mom of the legendary Acacia Clement, she will be there. Just an added bonus in heading over.
She is an angel on earth with everything she does with racing for home.
She is a wonderful woman, no doubt about it, and she has a wonderful daughter as well. Race number 1, well, there's a whole lot of different things going on in this race, but at the end of the day, Acacia, I'm with you. I'm not trying to beat Ride Up. We'll go back to March because who doesn't want to visit the Aqueduct when we're at Saratoga?
I saw you pulled this replay, and I went to watch it, and I said, oh, that just makes me feel cold looking at that.
It was just because I wanted to show a race where he finished close. I don't know what the idea was running this horse a mile and 1/8 last time out, and frankly, around 2 turns. And maybe it is a bit of concern because he ran very well to mile 16th behind Donegal Forever. Unfortunately, is sidelined a bit again. Hopefully, he comes back soon. That impressive debut winner for Donegal Stables, as well as Todd Pletcher. I'm looking forward to him coming back. I'm sorry. I'm just not trying to beat this guy.
I really tried to make a case for the 2 or the 3 in here, but they both have big layoffs to contend with. The 5 bargaining power is running on the dirt for the first time, also off of a layoff. It just feels like it's a little bit tough to trust some of the more lightly raced horses in here. And the benefit, I think, I think the cutback in distance is really going to be key for this horse. I completely agree. And it's the first time he's running for a claiming tag.
Yeah, and Sipicon Shop is obviously a horse I think both of us were tempted to pick. He broke a couple lengths slow last time, and he was in, I think, Indianapolis while the field was heading down the backstretch in Louisville.
He was so far back.
It's scary how far back this horse was, and he actually made a reasonable run. I find it interesting that Kenny McPeak is running him at 6.5 furlongs again the second time because, man, he'll probably be in the front today or something and wire the field, but that was wild, right?
It was. He just really had no speed coming out of the gate either, and he was a little bit green. He was closing on his left lead, of course, out of Sipicon Harbor, who won the spin-away here, but there have been a few horses who came back, actually, in fact, 4 out of that race to win their subsequent start, so he's off of a bit of a layoff since May. Absolutely could improve, just given how far back he was in that race. It was a little bit tough for me to trust him in here.
Yeah, and no, you're right. Not only have they come back and won, but horses have improved their buyer figures. Quite a few runners out of that race. Do you want to know something mildly interesting about bargaining power.
Sure.
He is the first Klarovich stable, and they're leading for the owner's title that's running for a tag at this meet. They
Interesting.
have not
yeah.
run a single horse for a tag this meet. Who knows what he is? I know what he isn't. He's not a turf horse.
No, he might not be very quick either.
No.
He did show some speed last time, but again, that was in October. He comes back, blinkers off, drop it, or I guess it should say second time for the 40 on the main track, cut back in distance. It's just
trying something new.
Yeah,
but at the
it
end of the
is.
day, I think we both think
It
right
is.
up, if he shows up, is too good for these. I know the second's only 5 horses, but I thought it was a pretty interesting race. And I think the decision in the second race you make is whether or not you believe, as we move on to race 2, and we'll show the replay of Chili Flag winning last time. You have her on top. If she runs her last race, she's going to win this race. It's almost a certainty. My question to you is, where the heck did it come from?
I agree. Now, I remember covering a race 2 starts back with you, actually, and she was part of that favored entry with Beauté Cachet, who we saw run well up here the other week. But there was a question in that race if Chili Flag was really that good. And then she came back and she did this and was impressive in the way that she kicked on. She broke well. She just took over and she just powered on by and kept widening that lead. So I don't know where it came from. I don't know if she can repeat it. I think sometimes we make the mistake of seeing a horse with European form coming over here to American turf racing and thinking that they must automatically be better. And that's not always the case. And that was my question with this filly. But again, if she repeats that last race, she's a major player.
No, I mean, I think if she wins the last race, the stakes might be.
That's what I mean, yeah.
She was very, very, very good last time out. I'm not denying it, but I want to see it again. And I got to think for Saffron Moon, who unfortunately shows up by appointment only. And
She just never runs.
Well, you worry about horses like this is at some point they just lose it. You know, they can't have that many layoffs. But I think those who look at her last race say, well, it's not really comparable to her prior race, which we'll get to. But I'm not sure that's the case. And she beat up on horses that are just not that good. The second horse did improve her Beyer figure 5 points in her next start. But she was 3 to 4 wide in the first turn, 4 wide in the second turn. And I remember when she ran, when I first saw it, I said, oh, she was sort of disappointing the second time out. And I said, oh, no. She had this crazy ride and crazy trip. And I think she just ran off on the rider a little bit in this race and was just wide on both turns and buried them. Her debut at Keeneland was, her turf debut, I should say, about as eye-catching as it gets. And I don't trust her because she keeps laying up. But I think she's a very, very good horse.
Yes, my big question is that it was a big layoff from October of 2021 after 3 disappointing dirt efforts. She lost the rider in the one start, but disappointing dirt
I bet
efforts.
a lot on her that day, but thank you.
Disappointing dirt start. So we don't see her from October of 2021 to April of the next year. She wins. Then we don't see her again until December. She wins. We don't see her again until August. Those types of horses are just always so tough for me to trust. Now, she's 2 for 2 on the turf, and Sammy Camacho was a strong rider. It just felt like he couldn't get her to relax behind horses, and she is a big leggy type of filly. It seemed like she was better freer running outside. What's she going to do coming back here? Is Chili Flag just trending in the right direction? Does Saffron Moon still have it? I think this will really be kind of the litmus test of where she is.
Oh, no, I agree. And I don't agree with David's line. I believe that Irad Ortiz is going to be favored on Chili Flag. I could be wrong, but I'll be surprised if they choose the Chad Brown that's not ridden by Irad Ortiz. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm making a mistake in that case. I've had enough of Pleasant Passage. You ever second? I've had enough.
Yeah, she's tough. She's one of those horses that you can feel like you look through and kind of make excuses for her time after time. She was a little bit keen last time. It was her first time with the blinkers. She's always been a little bit of a sharp, kind of eager type. I don't like her necessarily as a win proposition, but she seems to do well in finishing in the money. So
she does. She just was a good 2-year-old that doesn't seem to have really gone on with
agree.
it. And I mean, she's not impossible, obviously. What about the possibility of not so close wiring the field? I mean, I actually thought this last race at Ellis was really good. I know these are very good horses, but are you at all concerned that she could wire the field? I put her second.
Sure.
I got a little creative with her.
No, absolutely. She has early speed. She went right out to the lead last time, and it was her first turf start. And she actually ran really well, kind of digging in when she took some pressure late as well. She's on the rail in the Mary Lou Whitney Silks, and given the fact that it's her first time on the grass, she has company early and late, and then you have a closer kind of with the better momentum, and she was able to get
She
the
was
bob
game,
for
right?
second. She was very, very game in there. I do wonder what Sister Luann is going to do, because she's one that usually hustles up as far as trying
This
to set
horse
the
is
pace.
faster, though. They got
I agree.
Go.
I agree. But if you watch back with Sister Luann's races, every time she's hard ridden to kind of move up and go forward as much as possible.
Well, we'll see what she does. I wasn't expecting to be fast enough, but we'll see how it plays out. Race number 2 at Saratoga. And Saffron Moon, I'll just quickly tell you, I had bet her. Chad Brown had liked her in the dirt, and I actually, this horse he told me he liked, and I had bet on and lost some money on her. And then, just as people think that I have all this great information from Chad Brown, after she broke her maiden, I think I was on the phone and I texted him, and I said, wow, you were right, Saffron Moon finally ran well. She just did it in the turf. And he said to me, I should have told you to bet her today. She was like working with consumer spending and keeping with her. I said, oh, thanks a lot.
Good to learn after the fact.
It was fine. As you know, I don't look for tips. I don't want them. And at the end of the day, you're happy to see your friends do well. But I did laugh because I had gotten buried betting this horse as a 2-year-old. Race number 3, you got the Agent Creed situation, and I'm going to try to beat him with Barrage. I know he didn't win last time. Here is that race where there was a lot of controversy. People thought Joel eased up at the end. I am not one of them. I believe that he got beaten fair and square in here, that you don't stop 1,000-pound animals like that. I also did not think this horse got a very good trip last time out.
No. I agree. The thing with Agent Creed and coming out of this race is also Battle Scars, who was really far back, and he made a little bit of a move in the red cap and then just completely
The race
flattened.
collapsed.
Yes, exactly. But I thought Agent Creed was a horse that really could potentially take a step forward. This is him behind Catch That Party, faced Spirit of St. Louis last time, who is very impressive and I think has a lot of ability. And I thought last time as well, he was a horse that just couldn't reach the top 2, who were the part of the entry in that race. But Agent Creed is a horse that I think didn't want to go the 1 1/8 2 starts back. We'll see if he kind of finds the sweet spot in here. He's also making his second start for Steve Asmussen. And I had noticed that last time, in his first time with Steve, he was a little bit more tucked up than he typically is, and he was a lot more settled as well. He was the type of horse that they used to kind of put with blocks in the gate because he would kind of rock back and not break that well. And they didn't do that last time. And I think there's an opportunity that he could potentially take another step forward today.
Well, I also think if you look at that last race, not only is Spirit of St. Louis look ready to go to the West Point and face the stakes horses, that was a rail race. All of the good running was done inside, and he was 2.5, 3 wide around the racetrack, so he was never in a good, comfortable position. But the thing about Barrage, and I'm not against the 6, he's absolutely the horse to beat. I don't think he'll be 5-2. I think he'll be shorter, and I'm not sure he shouldn't be. And 5-2 would be a very fair price on him, to say the least, at least in my opinion. Why did Barrage run so badly last time? Because he ran extremely well 2 races back. That was a very slow pace that held together, and he did all the running at the end of the race, and a lot of us liked him, including me, last time, and he stunk.
Yeah.
Except it was a race that fell apart, and maybe it was a horse that just wasn't particularly comfortable in the lead in that race, and maybe that's why he didn't run that well. Now, Rough Draft's going to go to the lead, and I've got him 3rd and you have him 4th. I guess he's not impossible, but you really want him stretching out to this distance? I mean, it's a bit of a ask for him.
I think it's likely to expect the Rough Draft is going to send and Barrage is going to sit stalking, which I think is where he's more comfortable.
Isn't Citizen K supposed to go as well?
Yes.
I mean, if I were them, I would go with him, and obviously Barrage figures to clear him, but his best race was with the benefit of a racetrack in his favor, but was when he was on the front end. I was disappointed last time.
I agree.
He never picked it up at all.
I agree, and I kind of liked him a bit in the preliminaries last time, and he just was flat.
Better horses, but he sat in the rail and never moved his position forward. See what happens in race number 3. Race number 4, we'll go back in the time machine, and we'll take a look at your top choice and my second choice, Watasha, sprinting back at Aqueduct. So is Linda going to claim this horse and get him back to what he used to be able to do? He's also been facing in his dirt races that he ran poorly and astronomically better horses.
His last dirt race was against Rotney, and yes, much better. This is the lowest that he'll have ever run on the dirt. The last couple of races on the turf, he was very far back as well. He has those good dirt races in there. Let's see if he can run back to them. But I thought it was an interesting move, and I always pay attention when you see especially sharp claiming outfits claim a horse and then immediately change something, because clearly there was an idea here. I want to claim this horse to run him back on the dirt. And I kind of, I like looking for that intention. Obviously, you don't know everything that goes into the decisions, but I always find that interesting. And this horse does have the dirt form.
And I think he's better shorter.
Yes.
I don't think he wants the longer distances, so I have absolutely no problem with him. He's going to be a favorite, and he's a way the horse to beat in this race. You think David's got Dr. Perry a shorter price?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that, actually. He doesn't get out of the gate. I took a shot with him.
Though, but it's IRAD.
That is true. That is very true. He takes money on everything. This horse does not get out of the gate, and they're putting the blinkers on. Ran on a little bit last time out, and 2 back as well, but he has to break better today.
Unless you feel he was compromised a bit by the racetrack at Ellis.
Yep.
I mean, maybe he was. I wasn't a particular fan of that horse. I have to bet on Cam Duke. I bet
Going
him.
back to him.
Well, he was on a dead rail last time, and one of the things I've had some success with this meet was playing horses off dead rails. That horse that won for Jacobson the other day, and a horse that was a big price that ran second here in a race. And I do think if you get opportunities to play horses off dead rails, I also liked him last time. Now, maybe it was just a horrible pick, and I certainly have my share of them.
He took money in that race, too, though.
Well, he was a little interesting. If you
Yeah.
sort of go back, he's got some good races, and he was second off a layoff going to turf and dirt. Well, he's loose again, and I don't want Dylan to think that they went to lead last time, and that's what blew him up. What blew him up last time was he was buried on a dead rail, and dead rails can really cause incredibly bad finishes. So I bet him last time against maybe tougher. Why not take him today? I don't need Watasha at a short price. I have no argument with you. I totally agree with you, but I'd rather bet this horse at double digit or 8-1 or something in here.
That's fair.
That's all.
I do wonder what we're going to get today from Western Ghent as well. I mean,
Me too.
He is one of those horses that could either really turn things around with the drop in class, or maybe it's just as simple as it actually does look on paper.
If I didn't have the dead rail in the 3, I would have gone 5-4.
Yeah.
And Western Ghent was my
He's
single
kind
biggest
of the
score of the
wild
meet
card,
last
I
year.
think.
So
he's the wild
he
card
owes
of
me
this
nothing.
race. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's a very, and I'm glad you brought him up because he's a very interesting horse. I'll tell you something else. I know that Wayne is 2 for 22. He's got 7 seconds, and Wayne has been having
The
a
horses
very
have been
good
running
meet.
really well.
Horses, his 2-year-olds especially, are running well, and I think Wayne's barn is really clicking. So, and one of the ones that I had second was a Wayne horse as well on a drop down, a horse who had been over his head. I totally agree with you. He's very dangerous in this race. Race number 5. You love a boxed wine. You're like my friend Sean, who just loves a box of wine.
It's been a long time since I've participated in a boxed wine.
Don't lie.
My taste has
Don't
matured.
lie. We're all friends.
I'm
Just 'cause
married
you're
into
with
a
the
French
Clement family.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't lie.
I think that boxed wine would be poured out
You
the
don't think I
window
should,
over there.
if I'm ever invited to the Clement house again, which I'm starting to think will never happen again, for better or worse, you could invite me. I saw Christophe yesterday, actually. I'm going to bring over a box of wine.
I think that'd be nice.
I really think they need a box of
That'd
wine.
be
You know, they're such
nice.
snobs.
Yeah.
They really need some boxed wine
It's been a
in their
while
lives.
since I've had a good old boxed wine,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, I guess it depends where it comes from. You know.
Does it really?
You know what's interesting is wine in a barrel.
Wine in a
by
barrel?
the way.
Really?
Yeah, like wine on tap.
Oh, that would be.
all kind of really exotic.
Can you really get that?
things. Yeah, I've had wine on tap before.
Really?
Yeah.
Over the Clements?
No, at a restaurant. No, I mean, they have a lot of things with wine, but not necessarily that. But yes, this filly by Vino Rosso, so actually a very cute name. Phil Antonacci, with limited starters, has had some runners ready in here. I know that he does not have good numbers with first-time starters, but this one out
Those
of
horses
the
have been
gate-
running at the meet, and
They
one of them was
have
a
been
first or
running.
two, I think, right?
Sorry?
Wasn't one of them a firster?
One of them was a firster that was second by a Dirty Nose, and that was creation of Adam, who was an older horse. I know it was in maiden claiming, and this horse actually worked in company with that one 2 back, and was much smaller as a filly than a 3-year-old gelding, I believe it was. But I thought that this filly was always traveling better in the workouts, and that's one of the benefits of having XBTV. So I'm going to take a little bit of a shot with this one. It'll be a price.
I have the horse third. The dam was really good.
Yes.
But her first foal didn't run at all,
I
and
know.
that worried me.
Just
And you
1%.
see, you know, it's bred by Mike Rapoli, and it just, maybe I'm wrong, it just feels like they would keep a horse if
No,
they
that's
liked the
fair.
horse at
That's
all.
fair.
It just, that's what worried me. I've got the horse third, and I think he's interesting as well. And I'm not going to condemn a very good dam with one bad foal. And there's turf in the second family. I went back to the horses out of the 19th of July, and I think that is it Ganuka?
I believe
Ganuka
so.
is probably the likeliest one, but with
Yeah.
horses like Leslie's Luton here, I don't think she rates to be in front. So that worried
Oh,
me
no,
a
that
little
one's
bit with her.
definitely
You know,
going.
I think
Yeah.
if I thought she could wire the field, depending on the first, obviously, but I don't mind that. And Flowers, for me, ran like a horse. I was going to pick it 4-1. And I thought, you know what? If I can think enough of the one who's going to be 3 to 4 times the price that the 4 is going to be with IRAD, why not just pick that horse on top? Because Flowers, for me, was wide in there, sort of awkward at
She
the
kind of blew
start
the
a little
turn,
bit. Yeah.
too. She didn't corner well.
She just felt like a horse that just would benefit from her first start for Jimmy Ryerson. And she only lost by a length. And I know that you could say, well, Ganuka was closer to the pace, so she had more reason to sort of fall apart. And the race was falling apart. Queen's Martini made that big run and just sort of broke the race open. But they were close enough, and the price is not going to reflect that. So that's why I took Ganuka on top.
No, I'm with you.
Flowers would be on
I'm
top.
with you. I thought that she was really interesting in here, too. She was 41-1 on debut as well, whereas Ganuka was the one that was the tepid favorite in
But
that
it was
race.
IRAD.
Yes, I agree. And Butch Reed is very good with 2-year-olds. I think that there's absolutely a possibility that both of them could step forward. It's interesting with Leslie's Loop because her figure did improve so much going to the turf last time, and now we see her back on the dirt. She's run 2 fine races, but it's speed, it's hustle to the front. That's what she's going to do, and we'll see how
She's
far
not
she can take
impossible
them.
in here
no,
at all.
absolutely.
And Dallas Stewart has his second star of the
Yep.
meet. I miss Dallas. I know he didn't have horses stabled here, but I hope he comes and visits us. He's a wonderful man. This dam has not produced anything that's done a whole lot of running, though.
The 6, Accommodate Eva?
The dam?
What are you talking about?
Who's she produced? I had 6 mediocre foals.
Oh, no.
What'd I
There were a
miss?
couple that were multiple stakes place. There
Oh,
was
really?
a stakes winner, Hennessy Express.
What were his figures?
I didn't look at
I
the
look
figures.
at figures more than I look at.
Gotcha.
I should probably look at that
That's
more.
fair.
I
I
look
look
at the
at
figures
I look
more.
at the ones who are productive, and if they're precocious, there were a couple that won at the age of 2 as well. So those are some things I
All
look
right.
at.
Well, Dallas,
Yeah.
we hope you're here, but if you show up one of these days or not, feel free to check in. Anyway, that's the first 5. We'll be back with the second 5, the late pick 5, after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back, Acacia and Andy, as we continue with Talking Horses, presented by our friends at Saratoga Springwater. We are off the turf in race number 6, and we both sort of copped out with Sugar Gray Leonard, who doesn't win. But, the one thing, and now that I think about it, I'm actually kind of annoyed I picked him because his race 2 back was bad.
Yes.
He was bad.
It was, and he was the favorite that day. It's funny. As soon as they announced that we were going to be off the turf for the 6th and the last, I went through and kind of adjusted picks, and I went right to this horse, Sugar Gray Leonard, off of some of the dirt form. Kind of the same thought process with King James, and I just left him there even after scratches, and he has the decent dirt form. The problem with him is that on dirt and turf, he just never seems to really get the job
And he's IRAD,
done.
and he doesn't win.
I know, but he's been consistent, so at least he has that going for him.
And King James and Let Freedom Spring are certainly
They make
logical
sense.
horses. King James, probably the one you want to go to if you're against Sugar Gray Leonard. I just went 8, 12, 10. I do not have a strong opinion here.
Do you think Mama's Gold is going to run back to that 96 Buyer speed figure from January?
I don't. I really don't. I've given it a lot of thought, and no, I really don't.
Yeah.
No.
I was looking through it.
She'll be in front, though.
Wow, that's crazy.
You'll be in front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was slightly biasated. Biggest mistake that was made was they didn't sell the horse immediately after claiming it after that. Race number 7, we are happy to be on the turf in race number 7, 1 mile. And I'm going to start with Tangential, who you have third. And my feeling on Tangential is this horse ran a 69 buyer as a 2-year-old. We routinely see these buyers get dramatically improved when they second time out. And when they come back as 3-year-olds. And I'm just going to take this horse to improve and prove the prerequisite 8 to 12 points and run an 80 buyer and beat this field. Why should I be wrong?
No, I think she's a big player in here, especially coming back. Like you said, she improved greatly getting onto the turf. I remember looking back at my notes from her debut in September. She was a horse that had not been breaking well in the mornings in her workouts, and she did that in the afternoon as well, and just a little bit more of a laid-back type, and it looked like she was one that was really going to develop as she raced a little bit more. And so if you think that there's any potential for her to step forward, that automatic jump from 2 to 3 that you'll often see with horses if they are improving, plus if there's any kind of mental improvement in there as well, she's a big player. This horse always makes me laugh, though, with the name, because I remember being on the set and Mitch Levitas, our director, couldn't say the name. So it just always makes me laugh. Yeah, he had a really tough time with it.
Really? We should find some other names that Mitch can't pronounce, and we'll ask Seth to name those horses, just to have fun and make fun of Mitch.
Because Maggie said that Mitch was tangential, and he couldn't remember what the word was, and he couldn't repeat it. Yeah.
Maggie used copacetic yesterday. I'm going to speak to her about that as well.
It's all about the big words this week.
I love that. Richie said penultimate. It was a big vocabulary day on America's on Saratoga Live. So Mirabella, you like this horse. We'll show her last race, and she did lose to a first-time starter from Clara Horovich, who have done well with their ones, and particularly Surge Capacity, who could be the favorite in the Lake Placid, won the Lake George. She broke her maiden at Monmouth. I don't know. I just feel like this Todd Pletcher horse has had too many chances for me, but maybe I'm wrong. It just
That's fair.
runs into another Todd Pletcher, into another Chad Brown Klarovich horse, having lost to 2 of them in the last 2 starts, and then a Chad Brown for somebody else the time before that.
My thought process with her is that she won't be the favorite in this race. So you're going to get a little bit of a price on her today. She kind of was pressing the pace setter and was the first one to take over, where the winner came from last. And that was her first time with the blinkers as well. I thought I'd give her another shot in here, thinking that that was actually a pretty strong race. You've got John Velasquez staying aboard. I don't know, maybe she's not that good coming forward. And you bring up a good point, what we talk about with trainers like Todd Pletcher, Chad Brown. When they don't win, it's a knock against them. To me, that was a step in the right direction visually watching that race.
Okay, got a good time form U.S. figure. I certainly hope Startup Mentality does well. The interesting horse near, I think, is the one you have 4th and I have 2nd, and I imagine you, like me, flirted with putting this horse on top, Isola. Everybody, including the sucker up here, liked this horse first time out. You weren't on the show, but I know in your heart you probably liked them too, her too. And she had actually run a respectable race in her debut. The horse that beat her was a pretty good Juddmonte horse, I believe. And I don't know what the game plan was, but this horse, you see that rank restrained early. They just wrestled this horse to the back of the pack. I understand that showing speed over in Europe is not the same as showing speed here, but what the idea was from the inside post to pull her all the way to the back was, and the fact that, now listen, maybe Jose Ortiz says, I want nothing to do with this horse, or he's buying for Todd Pletcher as well, but you got Luis Saez, and I think we're going to see this horse at least be forward. And she was a short price last time, and she's going to be a much bigger price today. It just feels like if, like me, you lost some money on her, aren't you supposed to at least lose a little more today at a much bigger price?
She was so hard to handle, and I remember hearing Maggie's comments before the race that she was a little bit keen on the track in her warm-up as well. And sometimes, even if it's still a lightly raced filly, she'd only had the 1 start over in France. Sometimes when you see horses come from Europe, they just get a little bit bewildered almost with everything that's going on here. You know, they don't use lead ponies. There's no people in the gate. All of the little differences that you'll see over in Europe as well. And she had the rail too, and she actually broke okay. And then when they took a hold, and Jose took a hold, she resented that so much. And she could just have a really soft mouth as well. She could just be one.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock Jose in any way. And I don't mean that. And he may have been told to take her back for all I know.
Absolutely.
I'm not in any way.
But typically, my point is when you see them coming from Europe in their first start in the U.S., they will not break as sharply, and they'll try to get them to settle behind horses. And
well, that didn't work.
I'm guessing that was the game plan with her, and it did not work at all. Is she going to be better today? We'll see if she take a step forward. But I do think that it's encouraging that she kind of comes back off of some turf workouts here in Saratoga, now with a start under her belt, and we'll see.
Let's talk about the firsters on the inside and start with the one that you have second and I have third. I love the name, Not in a Million Years. It's just something funny about it, right?
It is.
This horse has plenty of turf pedigree.
Big pedigree. Is half to Grade 2 winner, Striking Dancer, and also half to Raymond Tusk, who was a really good horse over in Europe, but wanted to run like 1.5 miles or more, and obviously has a lot of talent too. This one debuts for Chad Brown. There's also a good European pedigree with Kick a Rhyme. That one sold at Goffs for about the U.S. equivalent of $175,000 after a Group 3 winner in England. I thought both firsters were interesting. I put the 3 in there, but took a long look at both of them.
I'm not sure the one that has the best pedigree is the 2 Kick a Rhyme.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's sort of a new sire, the European sire, but there's 2 winners from the dam.
Oh, no,
one
he's
was a
been very
Grade
popular,
3.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some real turf on both sides of the pedigree on this one. Interesting horse, Kick a Rhyme. This is a fun race. Looking forward
I
to this.
agree.
Glad that we're on the turf for race 7. Race number 8. I was going to pick the horse you have on top because I've picked him a lot. I'll let you talk about him when we're done. And I know Win for Gold doesn't win. I get it. But I got to tell you, and here's his race, and here's Sugar Gray Leonard hanging like a chandelier. This was a remarkable performance. Now, the rail was good, to be fair, and he was on the rail, but I'm sorry. This horse dueled in the biggest suicidal pace of the entire meeting. And, I mean, he hung in incredibly respectably in this race. I just couldn't pick against him, and he's supposed to be clear again today. And I know he's been a bit of a loser, and he's run some races, but, man, this was some effort by him.
Oh, he ran huge this day.
Huge.
The thing is that his last 5 races are in the money finishes. But I agree. He's an honest horse. He shows up every time. I don't trust Big Venezuela at all. But I am going to give him another shot in here.
He just
I'm
doesn't
gonna
win.
Give him another. He doesn't win either. Neither
Yeah,
of them
that's the problem
win.
with him.
Neither of them are really winners. I think really what prompted me to put Big Venezuela on top was that I didn't necessarily trust Garuvan, who is the one that won last time out. Can he repeat that effort stepping up?
I don't trust Groovy at all. The other thing about Venezuela, he spent a lot of time inside last time, and I don't think the rail was good. I didn't look it up, but I think August 3rd was not a good rail day. You should look that up. Garuvan, I hate the race he comes out of.
Yeah.
I just hate that. I thought about him a lot.
I know.
I hate that race
I
he comes
know.
out of. Maybe
That
I'm
also
wrong.
made me very tough
It
to
was like the
trust him.
drop-down race.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with Linda Rice off the claim with Kunshin Bridge? As we go back to May, when this horse ran 1.8 miles, as Linda cuts back from 1.8 miles to 6 furlongs. It's amazing. She still has more and more of these Churchill claims in her
was busy.
holster. But this horse has run well sprinting before, fast enough sprinting, and this is clearly the wild card of the race.
He really is. He really is, especially coming off of 1 1/8 mile try last time out. And kind of what I was touching on before, when you see a sharp claiming trainer claim a horse and then immediately change something. Like you said, he has good sprint races to go back to.
And I know that Linda's cooled off. Well, of course, as my friend Joe Applebaum accurately says, there's always the regression of the mean. But I don't know, has she been cooling off with the horses like this?
Well, this one's been waiting in the wings, claimed the source in May.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she won that race Saturday. I think a lot of people sort of assumed, oh, they're not running as well.
Yeah.
But the one didn't run well yesterday. I know she was second, but that maiden winner didn't run anywhere nearly as well as she did last time. But that horse was coming off a win, and maybe she just regressed a little bit off the win.
Very possible.
This one's a new face. We'll see what happens in race number 8. So race number 9, it's the Rick Violet, and we'd be remiss to not talk a little about our friend Rick Violet, a man who just a wonderful person who did so much for the game, and obviously had great success as a trainer, and Diversify being one of them. But he's more remembered for how much he gave back to the game, because frankly, his entire life was about giving back to the game.
It's so true, and I always feel sad that I didn't get to know him very well. Unfortunately, sadly, he passed when I was just getting really involved into the game, and in Florida at the time too. But everything that I've heard about him, I remember I got to interview him once for Horse Racing Radio Network up here when Diversify was running, and just a super kind individual. What he did as promoting aftercare, promoting the people on the backstretch as well. I think just you can't have enough good to be said about somebody that gives back to a sport that's given them a lot.
Yeah, and Rick was an aggressive guy. I mean, I met him. We were having a fight about off the turf races years ago before I worked here. But he was a fighter because of how much he cared.
Yes.
And very, very bright guy. And, you know, he was a longtime trainer for Klarovich Stables as well. And I know that somebody that Seth held in the highest of regard, and they remained friends even when he didn't train as much for him in the later years. But they're just a wonderful man. And he is missed, but we're really happy to have the Rick Violet. I met his brother yesterday with Richie, and of course know his sister as well. But good to have this race. Rambling Wreck. I have to ask my friend David Argona why he has him fourth today, because I disagree. Do you really think that Vacation Dance is going to allow it's all coming together to just control this race last time out the way he did last time? Doesn't he have to be more assertive with the blinkers on today and try to go? Because at the end of the day, he's actually faster, a lot faster, and it's all coming together. So I think he'll be in front today. And I know that Ramblin' Wreck lost at a super short price, and he had a good ground-saving trip. What are we showing here? This is not the race we're supposed to be showing, guys. Okay, this is his win, which was very, very good two-back.
Yes.
I was hoping to show all the others, but that's okay. Anyway.
There he is, though.
No worries. My feeling is those horses had the run of the race, and while he saved ground, he was badly compromised by the pace, and I just think it's going to be a little more honest today.
So it's interesting. I was in the paddock for that last edition of the New York Stallion Series, and I remember commenting how Vacation Dance acts like a horse that should be showing more speed than he actually is.
He should have been in front last
time.
time.
And so I think with the blinkers on today, it's John Kimmel saying, forget this, let's just send him. And he always has acted like a horse that should be forwardly
He's faster
placed.
than these horses.
He
should
faster.
be in front.
He
should never
and
have allowed the other horse to wire the field at slow pace.
I have to give a lot of credit to Jose Gomez with the way that he rode last time, with it's all coming together.
But I don't think Kendrick is going to do that again. And Kendrick
No,
may
he's
be
not
right
gonna
into
allow it.
instructions.
Yeah.
I'm not,
No,
once
I
again,
agree.
knocking Kendrick. King of Comedy comes in off a huge win last time, and you got to love a horse, Rupert, for those that aren't aware, and we'll show his last race. King of Comedy is a very underrated Martin Scorsese movie that was seen it filmed in my cousin Andy's apartment, actually, in Tribeca. Yes.
Cool.
A legendary scene in it with Sandra Bernhardt and Jerry Lewis. And Rupert Pupkin is the character that De Niro plays, and Oscar performance, so thus King of Comedy, my favorite name in racing currently.
Very clever.
But this horse got away with murder in this race, and he's not going to be loose in the front end. Now, I don't think he's impossible in here, and he ran well 2 races back with a bit of a trip. But his last race is a function of the dynamics, not his performance necessarily.
He's also just facing so much tougher today than he did last time.
Agreed. I agree.
Let's
go Big Blue's last race.
I like Let's Go Big Blue. I know that he was forward last time, but I don't think that he's a horse that needs to be aggressive in here. And he's just not as quick as it's all,
he's not
it's
gonna be in
all
front
coming
here.
together and Vacation Dance. But I saw a big step forward from him. He was behind Spirit of St. Louis. We talked about this. He didn't really have trouble in that race 2 starts back, but he was coming from really far off of it. I thought that he has improved from 2 to 3. He had some good races as a 2-year-old to go back to, and I like him. I like the progression of how he's coming along into this race.
I believe he's the only horse that can beat the one in this race, and I considered putting him on top. My problem is this was one of a number of extremely good rides that Jose Lezcano has given this year, and he has been really plugged in. This horse has no speed, but he went.
Yep.
And the only reason he won this race is because Jose went. If he hadn't gone, he wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
And it was a tepid pace up front in a race that was totally dominated forward. The thing about him, though, as you say, is he has good form last year to build on, so it's not like he can't be a good horse. He just was fortunate to win last time. That was my problem with him. I thought he'd be overbet because of that race. Now, I'm just curious, do you really agree with David that you're going to get 9-5 on Ramblin' Wreck after being 1-2 last time with IRAD riding, and Go Big Blue will be that big up? See, I would bet everything on Ramblin' Wreck at 9-5 versus 5-2 on Let's Go Big Blue. I think they're going to be closer to even money in 7-2 or 4-1. I'm probably wrong. David's almost always right about these things.
I would never want to do the morning line.
No,
and so,
it's more of a question. I'm not being critical. David's usually right.
I think Ramblin' Wreck will be a very short price in here, especially because of the blinkers on with Vacation Dance, like we talked about. And I think that some people will think that Let's Go Big Blue will be aggressive again.
And the other thing is, odds don't change that much. If the Knicks are home against the Nets, these 2 New York teams, and they're playing back-to-back home games on a Tuesday and Thursday. And the Knicks, and assuming no injuries, nothing changes. And this is more of a just using teams as an example. And the Knicks are a 6.5 point favorite in game one, and the Nets win by 9. The Knicks will still be a 6.5 point favorite in game on the Thursday. Nothing will fundamentally change. Things may fundamentally change during the course of a season. If you look at NFL lines being the season, you look at the end of the season, you'll see some, obvious mistakes early.
It's a good example.
They don't change that much, and that's why Annapolis was favored over Casa Creed because he was 4-5 the time before, and Casa Creed was 2.25-1. It's very hard for the odds to flip that significantly. Now, these didn't race against each other, and Rambling Wreck lost a little bit in defeat, but I have trouble seeing his odds go up that much. Right.
Time.
So that's just the way I'm looking at it as far as odds and how they're bet. I'm certainly not in any way criticizing David's
example.
line. He's a complete genius in all things in racing, but particularly in making a line. Race number 10. I mean, I guess it's sort of Russie or Twirling Vine, the 1 and 2. They're the logical horses, right?
Yep, I went to Russie second last time out in that off-the-turf race. There is a sibling that was a 5-time turf winner, so I guess Jimmy Bond was hoping that he could actually get onto the turf today. But
or hoping it rained if he came off.
Or if it came off, he wasn't going to be disappointed either, given the source of
He ran really well last time because the rail was very good, and that horse Henson on the rail.
Yeah.
Have you looked at Saturday yet?
I've not looked at Saturday.
Well, Henson's one of the oddest private purchases of all time. He was purchased by Madacat and 70,000 other owners and transferred to Brad Cox.
Yeah.
And Brad entered the horse on
turf
see that.
on
Saturday.
That. I saw that. Yeah,
And
it's very interesting.
I would have asked Saul, but I think he's vacationing in some far-off galaxy at this time. This horse ran well. I have no argument with that. And Twirling Vines consistently run well as well, and there's nothing wrong with them. And they'll probably run 1-2. And there's the La Verdad firster, though she has not been a good producer. But I hope she does well. But then I sort of noticed as I was going through the end, and I got a root from my friend Raylu, even though he annoyed me the other day.
I don't think he's riding.
No?
Katie Davis picked up the mount in the first race, and last I looked, it was TBA on this horse. So,
Okay.
sorry.
I'd be happy if Katie rode.
Yeah.
Katie's riding great.
I didn't see a rider for this
You
race.
could ride Katie because she's riding great. 5th winner yesterday at the meet.
Yeah.
This horse's first race was against significantly better horses and got a 64 buyer against open state. I mean, a figure that absolutely matches up with the 1 and 2. And I just think it's going to get sort of lost. I don't think that people are going to notice her as much. Not as sexy, so I put it on top just for a little bit of value.
No, and especially coming out of a 1.25-mile dirt race or turf race last time out.
Has bottom.
Yeah, definitely has some foundation in here.
You love the Mr. Z's. You can't get enough of the Mr. Z's. I mean, he's your favorite stallion, right?
I didn't know he had many horses still around. But this one actually has a big pedigree. It's after Fire Key. If you remember that horse, who was
Pat
very
Kelly,
talented.
I loved Fire Key.
Yeah,
I
very,
remember
very
that horse.
talented horse.
I'm insulted up here. No, I love Fire Key.
I should have known. You're just a walking encyclopedia.
Well, no, I have really liked Fire Key, so she was a horse I was fond of, yes.
Very talented.
Anyway. All right, Keisha, thanks so much. We'll see you again Thursday, but of course we'll see you every day on Saratoga Live as well. I only see Keisha on Thursdays.
I
we
know.
see each other so rarely. I see Maggie a little more.
I saw Greg yesterday for the first time in a while. Yeah.
It's weird.
I never see Paul. I never see Gary. Yeah.
We're so close, Maggie and you and Greg and I and Richie throughout the year. We spend a lot of time, of course, with each other, and up here, for better or worse, we're separated a little bit. Anyway, thanks so much. Wonderful job, as always. You need to head over to NYRABet to complete the circle. Use the promo code SPOT200, and we will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. We have the middle pick 4, 2, 4, and 7 with the pick 4s today. We have the $7,500 hit and split. The last trifecta here, the first at Del Mar, opt in at NYRABets. Play them both. Win it, split it, get some extra cash. It's free money. We have the contest, $300 buy-in. You have until 5 o'clock tomorrow. Head over to NYRA.com/contest. Live money contest, cash and seat prizes must play through NYRABets. Also through NYRABets, play the feeder contest. $40 buy-in. This is tomorrow. You have until 5 o'clock today, and you can enter and get into the $300 contest on Saturday. Information, once again, at NYRA.com/contests. We have the low rollers, $40 buy-in, $30 to the bankroll, 10 towards the prize pool. Go outside the Miller Time 4-Star Dave's Bar. Slap Jay. Be nice to Ray. Play in the roll rollers. It's a lot of fun. On track only. Always a fun time. It's gotten very, very popular for good reason. And it has nothing to do with Jay. Head over to the Taste New York Pavilion. located near Gate A at the Berkshire Bank Family Zone every Thursday through Sunday. And you got to be 21 to purchase alcohol. I've been buying it legally since I was 18, but I'm old. And last but not least, America's Day at the Races. It's now
Saratoga
Saratoga
Live.
Live. I call it Saratoga Live during the year, and America's Day at the Races up here. 1 to 6:30. Thank you,
like to be a
Acacia.
contrarian.
FS2 all
and
day.
Aftercare Day. Go check
Aftercare
out
Day.
the community
Thank you.
booth. I think there's going to be some fun demos on the track coming up shortly, too.
And go over, and Acacia's mom's there, and she has baby pictures of Acacia. So head on over and check those out.
She does.
She does. I'm sure she has
I'm
many
sure
of
she
them.
does.
Anyway, thanks so much. Have a great day. Frank Miramati up next with a reprise, The Scratches and Shave. Frank, by the way, will be on Talking Horses tomorrow.
Ooh.
There's a reason to go on living.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.